Hey, Marvin Lindsay here, following up from yesterday's sermon, actually yesterday's children's sermon. We played a version of 20 questions. We reduced it by 17 to 3 questions. And these 3 questions come from a document called Belonging to God, a First Catechism. In case you don't know what a catechism is, it is a statement of what Christians believe and how Christians live, and it's in question and answer format. And often it's been used in the history of Christianity as a teaching tool. You teach the questions and encourage children and adults sometimes to memorize the answers as a way of teaching them the faith. And so we went over 3 questions that come from the latest Presbyterian catechism that was written for children. And so what we're picking up off the cutting floor is 2 more questions today. So we'll talk about the questions first that we did yesterday. First question was, who are you? And we can answer that different ways. I answered it, Marvin, but there's a different and more basic answer, and that is, I'm a child of God. So even before we are Marvin or John or Jack or Susie, we're a child of God. What does it mean to be a child of God? What does it mean to be a child of God? And the kids had some very creative answers here, but what we settled on was this answer from the Catechism, that I belong to God who loves me. That's what it means to be a child of God. And then we followed up with the third question, what makes you a child of God? And then here is the big, long answer, which had to do with my sermon yesterday. And the answer is grace. Grace makes you a child of God. God's free gift of love that I cannot earn and do not deserve. And so I remember in the children's sermon yesterday, Charlie, one of the kids who was up there, said, "Well, it's prayer, it's loving others, it's being kind, and these are all good things to do. But actually, that's not what makes you a child of God. What makes you a child of God is not something that we do; it's what God does. It's a gift of love from God." Now, 2 more questions that we didn't go over yesterday. Don't you have to be good for God to love you? Don't you have to be good for God to love you? And the surprising answer is no. God loves me in spite of all that I do wrong. I have never heard the Christian doctrine of being saved by grace put more clearly than in this question and answer for children. Wow. I don't have to I don't have to be good for God to love me. But then, now I know what you're wondering. Are you raising a bunch of little monsters here by teaching them the answers like this to the question? So that's where the fifth question comes in. How do you thank God for this gift of love? Ah, by not being a monster. But I promise to love and trust God with all my heart. So there is room for good behavior in Christianity, of course, but it's not the foundation of our Christian faith. A foundation of our Christian faith is that God loves us the way that good parents love their children, not for what they've done, but simply for who they are. And we are children of God by grace. And we respond to that grace with love and with trust. But it doesn't make the relationship, it's a response to the relationship. So, friends, let's review the script. Who are you? You're a child of God. What does it mean to be a child of God? That I belong to God who loves me. What makes you a child of God? You know this. Nothing you do. It's grace. God's free gift of love that I cannot earn and I do not deserve. Wow. Don't you have to be good for God to love you? Nope. God loves me in spite of all I do wrong. But does that mean I'm going to be a little monster? Not when we get to this question answer. How do we thank God for this gift of love? I promise to love and trust God with all my heart. Those are the important questions. Those are some darn good answers. Memorize the script. Call on it when you're feeling bad. Call on it when you're feeling good. And you'll keep your head screwed on straight. That's a little bit from the cutting room floor today. Have a happy and safe Halloween. Go Phillies. I'm not going to pray for the Phillies. I'm not quite as bold in prayer as our associate pastor is, but I'm glad somebody is out there praying for the Phillies because we don't need to see cheaters win. Those cheaters in Houston, they need to promise to love and trust God with all their hearts instead of cheating. Okay, I've gotten off script now. Anyway, memorize the script, Live it, believe it, love it. Take care.